Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the Sparkability Virtual Summit. I'm Patch Dulay, the founder and CEO of the Spark Project, and I'm your host and moderator for this session. Before we start our session, again, I'd like to remind everyone that we will have some time for Q&A later. So if you have questions or you want to share any insights, you may do so by leaving a comment in our discussion box down below. So as we start, we all know that because of COVID, most of us find ourselves stuck, figuring out what to do with our social enterprises. Maybe now we are in what we call the neutral zone, as Coach Kitty would describe it, and now also exploring possibilities for our new beginnings. And now that we're ready to take matters into our own hands, how do we start? Where do we actually begin? So our speaker for this afternoon, the third and last speaker for day one of this summit, our speaker, and through this session, we aim for us to be able to guide you through the process of seeking new opportunities and seizing them for your creative conscious enterprises. Our speaker for this afternoon is Joie Cruz. She's a friend of mine and a fellow alumnus of the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, or YCLE. She is an entrepreneur, designer, and innovation consultant with more than 5 years of experience in the social innovation space. She is the founder and CEO of Limitless Lab, a design thinking and innovation agency, and Bayanivation, a tech startup promoting innovation in local government units. Joy regularly facilitates design thinking and UX user experience workshops, design sprints, storytelling, and brand design workshops for progressive corporations, government agencies, and NGOs. Before diving into the world of entrepreneurship, Joy worked as a project lead for the Department DICT, and the Deputy Executive Director of the Animation Council of the Philippines, where she pioneered several initiatives, including an award-giving body for the digital creatives industry and an international industry delegation to Cannes, France. In 2018, she was elected as an academic fellow for social entrepreneurship and economic development at the University of Connecticut as part of the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative by the USA Department. So let's all welcome Joie Cruz. Hi, Joy.
Hi, Patch. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Sparkability. I'm super excited and super grateful to be here.
Yes,
Hopefully, the
welcome.
things I will be sharing will be helpful to our social entrepreneurs and aspiring social entrepreneurs in the group. Okay.
Great. Okay, take it away.
All right. So, Patch gave me the topic seeking and seizing new opportunities for social enterprises. No, so he already extensively gave an introduction about me, but just to give you as well some overview about the work we do at Limitless Lab. So again, I'm Joey. Limitless Lab is a design and social innovation company. No, so we do a lot of things from designing to digital experiences, creating new websites, mobile apps, even conducting innovation training for teams. No, of course, this was before COVID-19 happened, right? So before I remember, um, I almost wanted to stay away from the co-creation aspect of our work, from building digital UX and UI, and wanted to focus on workshops because that was like a big chunk of our revenue before. But when COVID-19 happened, the co-creation aspect of our business, designing digital experiences, was actually our service that made us survive up to this day. So our goal is to really empower teams, people to create new solutions, to innovate, and the superpower that we're using is design or design thinking. No, maybe some of our participants have already heard of our initiatives before. No, so hi to all of you if you've been part of some of our initiatives before. I actually prepared some icebreaker before I begin my talk. I didn't know that you guys won't be in Zoom, so my bad. But just virtually, wherever you are right now. So I want you guys to follow the following instructions on our icebreaker. No? So this game is called Raise Your Hand. Very simple. No? So supposedly it's the Zoom Raise Your Hand functionality. Okay? It's quite straightforward, so I'm sure you guys know what this means. Okay, so the first statement, so if you agree with this, just raise your hand. Okay? First statement, raise your hand if you discovered your inner chef because of the quarantine. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay? Okay, next question. Raise your hand if you found yourself more productive, no? During the quarantine. I actually found myself more productive because I don't have to go through traffic and all that stuff. No? Next, raise your hand if you got hooked on the King Eternal Monarch. This is just for lols. I just wanted to put this. Okay, I'm quite addicted and I want to watch it right away later, but I heard from a friend that is going to be screened tomorrow. For those of you who are not familiar, so The King is actually a Korean series on Netflix. Okay? Next one. Raise your hand if you have a social enterprise. I will feel you guys raising your hands through my energy. Next question. Raise your hand if you are an aspiring social entrepreneur. I'm already a social entrepreneur, but I'm sure we also have a lot of aspiring social entrepreneurs. The next question is going to hurt a bit, no, but I want you guys to be honest and to be vulnerable because it's just you anyway in your room wherever you are watching this. So the next question or statement is, raise your hand if you are having challenges with your social enterprise or social enterprises. The last question is more painful. So the last statement or question is, raise your hand if you had a social enterprise. And if you had to shut down your social enterprise because of the whole craziness of what's happening now globally. So we're all in the same boat. We all have these kinds of challenges. And actually, I read this news. No? So according to Dole, 20 businesses closed because of COVID-19 nationwide. And we all know this is far from the real numbers that we have, right? Because in the Philippines, it's more expensive to close down your business. No? So micro, small, and medium enterprises are the most vulnerable business sectors in the country. And mind you, 99.5% of businesses in the country are MSMEs. No? So meaning these are enterprises below 100 million. No? And I'm a micro enterprise. And I'm pretty sure, like many of you consider yourselves as MSMEs with just a social impact background. That's what makes you a social enterprise. So now we're all faced, with the phrase the new normal. Now, what is really the new normal, and how can we really navigate the new normal that's no one's ever heard of before? No, of course, IATF has given us some definition, but it's still uncertain. Everything is uncertain, and hopefully, by the end of this workshop, I will not define what the new normal is, but I will teach you guys how you can creatively navigate the new normal using design thinking. Okay, so my workshop will have three parts. So the first one is inspiration. So I will just give a background or introduction into what design thinking is. I'm sure for those of you who attend a lot of acceleration programs or startup programs, social enterprise programs, you might be you might know what design thinking is already. Yes, no, so that's okay. I tweak the methodology a little bit so that we can tailor it more to our current reality, no, during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the first phase, I will also have a brief discussion on what are the industries that will still thrive and are still thriving during these times, and will thrive in the post-COVID world. Okay. The second part is the ideation aspect. Okay. So in this part, Limitless Lab actually came up with a 3-page canvas or worksheet that you can use to identify new growth opportunities or even just new business opportunities or pivot opportunities for your social enterprise. And I will also teach you how to actually use these worksheets. Okay, is that good? The next phase of the workshop will be the experimentation phase. Basically, I will just tell you ways on how you can validate, your new business ideas remotely and in the time of COVID-19. All right. So let's proceed with inspiration. Okay. So let's start with the question: what is really design? No, so I'm pretty sure the participants that Patch selected are already bright, young, aspiring social entrepreneurs. So maybe you're familiar with this already. But basically, design is not about how something looks and feels like. No, design is about how it works. No? So design is not about just the colors and aesthetics. It's actually the intentionality behind things, how systems are formed in a way that it's responsive to the needs and wants of users and stakeholders. So design then is about creative problem solving. No? So I conducted a lot of design thinking workshops before, and whenever I define design, I always differentiate it with art. Okay, so art is all about aesthetics. Art is all about how it looks like, but design focuses on function, usability, right? So art aims to be interpreted in so many ways. But design, on the other hand, aims to be understood. Meaning, for example, if it's a digital experience or UX you're designing, when you go to a site, diba, you know na agad what the designer of that particular site wants you to do. No? It's not open to so many interpretations. So kung may call to action button yan, alam mo na yun yung gusto mo na i-click niya. No? Design is about creative problem solving. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we've also seen how some of our progressive leaders, use design to create new solutions and to solve problems creatively. For example, Mayor Vico Soto, right? With the mobile palengke and some other initiatives that he has and in his office has. Okay. So what then is design thinking? No? So design thinking is basically a way to come up with great designs. No? So if you look around you, everything has been designed. It's just a matter of, was it designed well or was it not designed well? Right? And design thinking is both a mindset and a methodology. Meaning, you don't necessarily have to say na, okay, I'm doing something and I'm applying design thinking. Because once you apply it all the time, it becomes like driving. Although I don't really know how to drive. But I heard from people that when you drive down, in the beginning it's hard, but then it becomes like second nature. Right? So that's where the mindset component comes in. No? So when you practice design thinking in everything that you do, you become a living testament, a breathing example of what design thinking should be. And most of the best social entrepreneurs and innovators I know use this without even knowing that they are using this. And this is not rocket science because this is already used by big corporations and big companies like Google, Facebook, of course, Twitter, and some other tech giants. But the thing is, design thinking is not just used for tech. You can actually use it for so many things. And that's why I love it so much, because you can apply it to almost anything. You can apply it to design your life, to design your career, to design um, your business. And that's something we will discuss later on. No? So just a brief overview of what are the key principles of design thinking. So number one, so I want you now guys to imagine a pink hat, because my presentation is so pink. That's why my face is so pink. So imagine a pink hat that you are wearing. And with this hat, I want you to remember all these principles or values that I will show on the screen. So number one, being a designer or design thinker / innovator is all about putting people first. Okay? It's not about the solution right away. It's not about the technology right away. It's all about people. Okay. Number two, think visually. This is very, very important. No? People are visual learners. And that is why we make prototypes, diba? Because when something is visual, we tend to make sense of it easier. And also, of course, for our customers or users, it will be easier for them to understand it as well. You think visually, because sometimes, we have all these bright ideas in our head, but it's all too abstract. No? So, kaya, as you can notice, diba, in design thinking workshops before COVID, we used all this sticky notes. Diba? No, so many sticky notes are posting on the walls. The main concept or guiding principle behind that is that if something is tangible, if something is visual, it's easier for us to manipulate things and like group them together. So that's why we're using sticky notes during design thinking workshops. Okay, the next principle is radical collaboration. Okay, so I think I also mentioned this during one of my talks with Patch before. So radical collaboration is basically the principle that the most innovative teams are multidisciplinary teams, right? I'm sure the social entrepreneurs we have right now, you have teammates. Am I right, Patch? No? So they have teammates. No, you're not alone, because you can't solve all the problems in the world alone, right? So you need perspectives from other people. And when we say radical collaboration, we're talking about teams with different backgrounds, different personalities, different expertise, and making sure that whatever position you guys have in the team, see, for example, the other one is the CEO or is the executive director, and the others are like second in line. No, so when you're trying to come up with new things using the design thinking methodology, everything or all your positions should be toned down. No, so hierarchies do not promote innovation. No? So when you do workshops, make sure that you collaborate radically. Okay? And we've done this. We've done this. We've done design sprints with government agencies, like all these directors with their staff, and we were like the bad cop, basically telling the bosses, okay, you can't influence the group, you have to let them voice out their opinions, because most of the time, the best ideas come from rank and file. And because, most of the time, sila rin yung kaharap nila yung customer, di ba? No? So that's the importance of radical collaboration. Ko pala na-on yung aircon ko. Okay, next, design doing, right? So just because design thinking is called design thinking doesn't mean you sit in a chair like this and just, like close your eyes and meditate and think all afternoon. That's not how it works. Because design thinking is actually design doing, right? So speed is of utmost important here. You need to know how to act fast, especially during these times, when we are in an emergency situation. Okay? So dito rin pumapasok yung mga concepts natin like agility, right? The MVP and all that stuff. The next one, so experimentation and iteration. I'm sure you guys, sawang-sawa na kayo sa term na fail fast, fail forward, right? So siguro palagi na siyang naririnig sa mga entrepreneurs na nagtotalk. Pero I tell you guys, when you're practicing it talaga na you're always experimenting, you're always iterating, you won't even feel like you're failing. No? Because as they say, in the world of entrepreneurship, the money and resources you use for a venture that failed is basically what do you think? It's your tuition fee, right? So it's your tuition fee. And if you didn't learn from your mistakes, then you wasted your tuition fee. So hopefully you learn from your failure and iteration. Me, I actually don't consider failures because you always learn something, and that makes you a better entrepreneur in the future, right? Okay. The last one, very, very important during these times. So again, uncertainty, new normal. So being an entrepreneur is having the strength to embrace ambiguity, right? It's about having that comfort in discomfort. Yeah. And I know you guys, siguro marami sa'yo, who feel worried, who feel this discomfort. Okay, what's happening now? What's going to happen to my business? Blah, 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 blah. No? So, yes, uncertainty is scary, no? But to be a design thinker is to embrace ambiguity and to thrive in ambiguity. Okay? And later on, I will teach you guys on the process that you can actually use to turn ambiguous things into something more tangible. Okay. Right. So the design thinking criteria, right? No, so for a product or a service, para ma-consider natin siya as a product of design thinking, it should have these three major components. The first one is people. Is it desirable by people? So again, putting people first. So start with people first. That's why there's a start here. And then the next one is technology. Right? Is this something feasible? Is this something that you can do? Okay? And the last one is business. Can this be sustainable? Can this be viable? No? So what I like about social entrepreneurship is that when I got open to the whole, concept of social entrepreneurship in 2013, so that was my first exposure through the British Council Ideation Camp. So it was in First Pacific Academy. I was in my third year in college. I was a joint student. I didn't know I will be an entrepreneur. So that was the time that my concept of business, my misconception of business got debunked. Because in the development sector, we have this narrative that, that money is evil, right? That business is all about profit. But when social entrepreneurship came, that was the time, it was revealed that actually you can make money while making a difference. Yung 3 P's na tinatawag, tama ba? 3 or 4? People, planet, and profit. Right? So again, yes, we love serving the world, we love helping people, but business, money is very important. Because otherwise, if you don't have the resources, how are you going to continue the good work that you are doing? So that's why this is equally important as people in technology. right? And if you look at our logo, that's actually where it came from, no? So, yeah. And at the center, no, syempre, that's the sweet spot of innovation. We're looking for something na desirable for people, and also something that's feasible, no? Malay mo hindi naman pala kailangan ng technology. That's also okay. As long as you know you can implement it, right? And of course, business viability. Again, the ikigai, no? Kung tinatawag, no? So, di ba may concept ng ikigai, no? So, it should be that spot in the middle. Okay? So, please, maybe you can take a screenshot of this so that you can remember it. Yeah. People, technology, and business. Okay. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a new concept. It's actually a growing practice or vertical under design thinking, which is called business design. So basically, this is how you apply the concepts and principles and methodology processes of design thinking in designing a new startup or a new business. I'm sure you guys are familiar of the business model canvas, right? So that's lean methodology naman. So this is a different approach altogether. But they're like sisters and family. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite books. You can download it, I think, on Amazon if you want to buy it. So Design a Better Business. They have a lot of tools, skills, basically combining design and strategy, to build new companies that make a difference in society. So design, according to the book, design is about creating the conditions by which businesses thrive, grow, and evolve in the face of uncertainty. I will tell you a story. So the Limitless Lab story. Limitless is actually my third venture. So my first venture was in 2017. So I was fresh out of my last job as DED of Animation Council, and I wanted to start my own, because I was exposed to startups, social entrepreneurship. So because I was DevCom, I was a graphic designer. I do multimedia stuff. So I said, okay, so I want to help NGOs produce, like better IEC materials, right? So I built a company called Tactica Multimedia. So in 2017, I was out of this, job where I was, let's just say, antagonized, because I was so young at that time. Then I already had this position, so I wanted to be my own boss. But the thing is, I didn't have any savings. I didn't have any capital. So basically, it failed. No, so the business failed, and I had to take a job. So I worked for Rappler after that venture, and then I taught multimedia arts in iAcademy for quite some time, right? But during those journey, so I started, so I've always known design thinking, but I was opened more to it because of my medyo personal, my previous boyfriend. So I learned more about design thinking, and then I said, okay, I'm a graphic designer, and I didn't know that I can actually apply design thinking and design not only to visual stuff but also to systems, new products and new services. So I founded in September 2017 B612 Design, which was the previous name of Limitless Lab. And for a year, so we're experimenting and all that stuff. And then we rebranded to Limitless Lab because I figured no one can remember the name. And also I'm a bit like I'm still uncertain as to what really are the services and products of B612 Design at that time. And when I came across this book, it helped me apply it, the principles of design thinking as well, not just into UX, UI, and IEC and service design, but also into the whole design of a business. So because of that, so I created the design strategy before we rebranded. And I remember when I was forming our design strategy, it took me about 3 months to rebrand, so quite a long time. So people first, right? So in the design thinking methodology, there's a tool called the persona, and I created 4 personas. Tama ba? No, 5 personas actually. The first one is Mon, the progressive government leader, so a target customer. The second one is Mitch, the progressive corporate leader. And then the other one is Steph, the NGO leader who needs like services and all that stuff. And then we also had the community aspect. So I won't tell so much details about, the characteristics of those personas. But basically, you would notice na we were targeting talaga for people inside organizations that were progressive na. No? So meaning, sila yung entrepreneurs or sila yung who wants to make a difference in their own organization. Okay? Fast forward, like almost 2 years after, those personas I made, I remember yung personas ko na yun, plinot ko pa kung sino yung mga contacts ko in my professional network, okay, who matches this persona, no? So fast forward to now, they're actually our customers. Those kinds of people are the ones we attract. No? And it was just because one afternoon, I sit down and really ideated, really tried to be intentional about, okay, para kanino ba talaga tong business na to? And who are the people we're trying to help? Okay, that's the power of design. Okay, so design is an approach to igniting new possibilities. No? And we've seen this. We've seen how just one design thinking workshop, for example, for government offices can transform a person to the point that, when they walk out of the room, they're like a different person with all these ideas, always trying to start new initiatives inside their organizations. Right? Now that we're in the phase of uncertainty, you can actually use design thinking and business design, to harness these opportunities and transform them in the face of uncertainty. Because actually, if you will reframe how you see things at the moment, uncertainty can be your secret weapon. So in design thinking, there's a big concept then called reframing, or define. And the end of the day, it's mindset, right? How you see things. And I was just in this Kubo panel on the smart cities, and we were talking about how this is really a bright time for startups and social entrepreneurs because there's no copy-paste solutions. No, there's no copy-paste solutions to the challenges that we currently have. And therefore, we are working on a blank canvas. So this is the time for us to create and to experiment. But of course, I'm sure, some of us might have financial, like factors into it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's your creativity and your mindset. And how are you going to leverage, diba, on this uncertainty and make it your secret weapon instead of being eaten up by it? Okay? Now I'm going to discuss what are some of the industries that are still thriving and will thrive amid COVID-19. So again, I'm giving you all this information before I dive into how you can do your own design thinking workshop in a fast way, later on in the second part of the workshop. So what industries will actually thrive during COVID-19? Okay. So this is not complete. So these are just some of the research we had because we're also building an MSME online hub with PDRF. So it's called CCAP. So the team made some articles on what industries will thrive and are thriving amid COVID-19. Of course, number one, essential retails. So groceries, supermarkets, drugstores, and even products and services that make the movement or logistics of these essential goods easier and more convenient. Agriculture, of course, like this is really the time that we all went back to basics, right? It's really a time for going back to basics, and agriculture will thrive as an industry. Yeah. Okay. Number two, possible industries. So, industries that foster connections. Okay, so telecommunication, syempre, no? So, walang problema yung mga big brothers natin na hindi MSME, no? The telco companies, they're doing well. Products or services that will help us stay connected with friends and loved ones. So, sino dito yung may 10 TikTok every day? Diba? Sino dito yung zoomed out na tinatawag? Zoomed out na ba kayo? Diba? So, I just read an article ata like few days ago that the shares of Zoom actually like bloated up, parang higher pa with the big tech giants, no? Products or services that help us stay entertained, right? No, so this is the time for creativity. I think I was talking to one of our Sparkability staff, no, and I heard, okay lang bang i-mention ko? So basically, they're trying to come up with packages for the events industry using Zoom. No? So those things, like help us stay connected with our loved ones, help us stay entertained, help us stay sane and mentally healthy during these times. No? So the next one, syempre, human health and social work services. No? So I'm very lucky because most of our clients are in the development sector world, no, NGOs, civil society, and government. So that's why when the COVID-19 came, we still get a lot of projects, no, because marami sa kanila ay, like they're reallocating their funds for COVID-19 response, right? So maybe that's also something you can explore, the development sector, like social work service, maybe there are services or products that you can create to augment those kinds of services. Digital health services, of course. Hospitals, alam na natin yan. I don't know if may maisip kayo na something that can help augment what our hospitals are currently doing. And syempre, a big salute to all our frontliners. Okay, next. Basic utilities, of course, no? So, power, water, back to basics pa rin tayo, no? So, they will thrive, they're thriving. If you received your bill, like, is it super high? I read some posts from friends na sobrang mahal ng bill nila, no? So, thankfully for us, I live in a condo kasi, so it's submetered, I think. So, hindi naman ganun kalaki. But I was thinking, okay, so now that we have this sudden surge in basic utilities because we're at home more, what if, there are products or services that can help us save on our bills? So those are also some opportunities that you can look at. Okay, last one, products or services for government. So COVID-19 is the greatest disruptor of our government. It has been a test of our systems, and it's been the greatest driver of digital transformation, in our public sector, right? And for now, syempre, ang dami pa ring manually nilang ginagawa, all that stuff. But the crisis actually only proved to many of them na hesitant pa rin to go into the digital transformation route that, there's really no other way to go. Okay, this is the way to go. No? So, aside from digital transformation services, like, especially with the emergency funds, so, and the government spending as of the moment. So those are the opportunities that you can also take advantage of. Okay. course, there are things needed like, like government requirements and all that stuff, but I'm sure you can figure it out. Yeah. So those are basically some of the thriving industries that we see will still thrive, in the post-COVID world. So again, number one is essential retails. Number two is, industries that foster connections. I was actually thinking the other day, like, how might we, with all this Zoom meetings and video calls, like, how can we foster more authentic communications during this time? So something to think about. Human health and social work service, basic utilities, syempre products or service, or being a vendor for government. Do let me know if you have other ideas as well on what industries or verticals you think will still thrive during these times. And I'm sure we're not going back to the new normal anytime soon. Or we're not going back to the normal before, anytime soon. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically phase one, which is the inspiration or discovery part. So now we're going into the actual ideation. And I'm just going to discuss to you the worksheet that I have prepared. I think it's uploaded on Sparkability. No, it's already the Teachable platform. No? So it's already uploaded. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to provide it earlier para sana na-print niyo siya. But we are going to use pa rin the 5-step design thinking process. So for those of you who are not familiar, this is the Stanford Design School version of design thinking, which is step 1, empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Okay? So, how do I annotate this? Pointer. Yan. Okay. So this 5-step process is actually non-linear. No? So meaning, for example, kapag nandito ka na sa ideate, pwede na you have to go back to empathize. So that's how this whole process works. And in the real world, this is not how neat things look like. No? So meron tayo actually tinatawag na the design squiggle. Basically, ganito yung itsura niya. Wait, How can I annotate? Wala palang annotate. Yeah. But anyway, the design squiggle is very messy in the beginning, when you're trying to empathize and you define. And then slowly, you are zooming in, you are focusing and identifying na talaga what solution works for you and your team. No? So that's why a big part of it talaga is embracing that messiness, that ambiguity of creation. Creation is a messy process, right? And for you guys na who have been working on your social enterprise for quite some time, you know how messy this process is. But it's just really how things work. And as they say, it's not really the destination, it's the journey, right? It's the process. Okay? So to make things shorter, because I know you might be worried and you might want like an easy template that you can use to identify these new opportunities, we came up with a 3-page business design worksheet. Okay, to help you, since creation and design is a messy process. That's why we have design thinking workshops, because it makes the process more systematic. Now, that's why we have facilitators like me. No? But in this case, since you're alone and you're at home, you can print these worksheets out and then work on them with your team or alone. Okay, so hopefully with your team, right? So what I did was, just to make it easier, and 3-page lang, para madali, I dissected the 5-step process, no? Hindi ko na sinama yung test, pero I will give you later, guys, tips and techniques on how you can actually conduct validation and testing remotely. Okay? So the first step, pinagsama ko na yung empathy and define, no? So empathize and define. And then for the second worksheet, so it's for ideation. And then the third worksheet is for prototyping. Are you guys ready? Yeah. So if you have your worksheets, if you downloaded it, you're also free to open it up. Maybe you can, I think in Mac, you can annotate, diba? In a PDF, you can also work while listening to me. So I do that all the time kasi I'm ADHD, so I like listening to podcasts and then working. So that's totally okay with me, right? Yeah, so this is how the canvas looks like, made specially for you guys. But I think I'm going to share this as well after the workshop. No? So the first one, again, is for empathize and define. Second one is ideate and then prototype. Okay, so ready? Sige. So we'll dive right into the empathize and define part. No? So empathy, we all know what it means. It's putting yourself in the shoes of the people you are designing for, right? So, alam na natin to, no? But to dig deeper and to expound, empathy is all about seeing, feeling, hearing the world as how your target users, target customers see the world, no? And during these times, we need all the empathy that we can give and we can receive, With all the challenges we're facing right now, empathy and compassion are very important. No? So when we do workshops before, how do we empathize? We send out the participants for them to conduct empathy interviews, di ba? Yung getting out of the building na tinatawag natin. But since we are on quarantine, what are the ways on how you can actually empathize with target customers and target stakeholders during these times? Of course, number one, virtual interviews. Okay, so you can call them, you can chat with them, you can set a Zoom meeting. How do you make questions when you do empathy interviews? So, dito pumapasok yung tinatawag natin na open-ended and close-ended questions. Right? So make sure that when you're trying to empathize with people during these times, you don't make it a job interview. No, and a yes or no questions. Because what you want to hear during these times are stories. So go for the stories because stories are very powerful, and that's where usually we can find the best and most meaningful insights. No? So for example, so if I want to help, for example, my cleaning lady, so who I have been communicating, so obviously she lost her source of income, so she goes to condos to clean them. Syempre, hindi siya makalabas. So I didn't do a full-on, empathy interview, but I chatted with her, and then kinamusta ko lang siya, and then nagkwento siya ng mahabang-mahaba, 'di ba? Yun yung gusto natin, hear the stories. Because the only way you can really come up with a solution that responds to the needs of not only your customers, but your stakeholders would be for you to feel what they are going through right now. Okay? The next one, social listening. So very important as well. Social listening, for example, if you don't have a lot of time to conduct interviews, so where can you do social listening? You can go to Facebook groups, Sobrang daming Facebook groups natin ngayon, 'di ba? And when you look at the comment section, you will see how what are the plights and what are the challenges of people, what are they doing at the moment. saan ba ako active na Facebook group ngayon? No? So, I think I'm active sa a group where we pretend to be in UPLB. So, active ako nun. Kasi funny siya. So, nakakawala ng stress. And another group is the Quarantine Tributes. So, I'm part of that group, the Quarantine Tributes. Where basically, these are clueless young adults and teenagers who don't know what to do. They are the ones sent to do the groceries. So, they just share like recipes and all that stuff. What else? Manila Vegans, of course. No, so there's a Manila Vegans group, and people post different things there. So here's a story. So about 4 weeks ago, so I came across this Facebook group called Super Chuper. Time is it? Okay, 4:41. I still have a lot of time. So I came across this Super Chuper group. No, so it was just a group that was formed by a group of friends, and the goal was to help jeepney drivers and tricycle drivers, who lost their jobs because of the quarantine, right? And actually, ang galing, ang innovative nung way na ginawa nila, because the admins of the group, no, for the drivers to apply for like having your details posted and get possible donors, ang ginagawa nila is you can take a photo of yourself with your GCash and then your ID. No? So, sino yung nakita ng group na yon? Yan. Okay, sige. I will imagine na may mga nagtaas, right? So, when I was so amazed when I saw the group, because like it's a very simple solution, but at the same time I noticed how in the beginning of the ECQ, when it was first created, sobrang daming nagdo-donate, no? So like sobrang dami, like may isa doon, balita ko, naka-cut 17,000 ata siya. Kasi parang maganda yung pagkakasulat ng ano niya, nung donor, nung message niya, no? So although, nung medyo tumatagal na yung ECQ, paunti yung mga nagdo-donate, right? And this is, the impact of donor fatigue, right? And mind you guys, I posted one time there kasi nga we're trying to build this solution. And after I posted, sobrang daming nag-message sa akin ng mga families ng jeepney drivers na asking for donations, right? And of course, sa admins, no, they ban that kind of behavior. But syempre, these are desperate times. No? So I went back to the team and told them, okay, what can we possibly do to help these drivers, no? Not like having them be solely dependent on donations on this group, right? So we were ideating, we created personas and empathy interviews as well. We were supposed to develop like a mobile app that basically provides a platform for tricycle drivers to deliver groceries to citizens. No, but there's a security component like my identity verification, because according to our social listening, maraming nasa scam sa mga Facebook groups. No, so we wanted to create a solution that would address these problems. No, so we were on the process of creating that app, but dumating yung Community Mart ni VP Lenny. So I was like, okay, so matagal pa tayo sa kasi hindi naman namin expertise yung app development. No? We're more on the design. So I was like, okay, meron ng solution si VP Lenny, so baka hindi na tayo kailangan. No? But the point I'm making is, the solution we created, we all had na wireframes and all. We were able to come up with that in a short amount of time just by social listening. Just by going to those groups and reading, one by one, what are the sentiments of the people and what are their current challenges. So that scam phenomenon is actually a big one that's happening right now in the transactions, especially with the pabile service, no? Of course, you can also do desk research, so for data and all that stuff. Okay? Yan. So now we're going into the customer persona. So the customer persona is actually a document that you can use to codify the things, the insights you gathered during the empathy interviews or the empathy work that you've done. No? So that you have a tangible document that you can always go back to, when you're, for example, in the prototyping or ideation stage already. You have your true north. You know that these are the people you're trying to help. These are the people you are trying to serve. Okay? So it's an important reference point when designing products, services, or processes. No? So kapag nagpapagawa kami sa mga participants namin before ng persona, what we do is we ask them to draw just the physical representation of their target persona. No? So because we are social enterprises, so I figured we will not just be dealing with the customer. So I want you guys to also think about your stakeholders. Patch, can I ask, do we have participants who had employees na, like communities? Meron, right? So maybe some of them lost those employment opportunities, right? Because of COVID-19. So I want you guys to conduct your empathy work, and answer these two blocks. No? So empathizing with your target customers, who might be willing to pay for your service, or what kind of niche target market do you want to go, no? And at the same time, your stakeholders, ano yung pinagdadaanan nila ngayon, no? For example, with the customer persona, no? So, say for example, in my experience, I live in a condo. I know how difficult it is to go to the grocery because it's far. No? So I can start with that, like with my neighbors. What if I want to help them, right? So say I will put Jana, the yuppie in the condo. Age would be, 27. Occupation, let's say, BPO worker. Pwede, di ba? Location can be in Makati. No? So goals and aspiration, make sure that you tailor this to the COVID-19 context that we have right now. So for example, the goal and aspiration ni Jana would be to get groceries. No? So, or goal or aspiration niya is to get a facial, no? For example, no? You can also go broadly naman. Pwede rin naman na goals in life, right? Mali mo ang goal niya is to lose weight, no? I'm just like throwing out ideas out there. And what are her current problems and frustrations? For example, Jana doesn't have a car, no? So she cannot travel to the grocery, example. Or problems and frustrations niya can be limited budget, It really depends on you. No? So it really depends on the persons or people that you will conduct your empathy interviews with. No? So make sure to also note their behaviors at the moment. No? Are they always in front of the screen? Did they lose their jobs because of the pandemic? Are they complaining about their internet? Are they doing TikTok or Instagram? No? So that's something for you to fill out. No? The next naman is the stakeholder persona. So if you already have an existing community and you want to still ideate on ideas on how you can create new employment opportunities for them as well, then you can empathize with them. But at the same time, if you are thinking of a new community per se that you want to help, a new sector that you want to help, that's also okay, right? So for example, with the with the jeepney driver, super trooper example I had, diba? So we were trying to get like PUV drivers as examples, no, of our persona. And people were trying to help. Yan. No? So again, once you've conducted your empathy interviews, come up with two personas. Now, one for your customer and one for your stakeholder. No? So an important thing to note when you're building personas is the max that you want to go is 5 personas. No? So anything beyond that is already too much. Because when you're designing for so many people, you're designing for no one, right? So the next one, now so define. So we're going into reframing. Reframing your design challenges. So basically, this is the point when you are trying to solve the right problem. No, are we really trying to solve the right problem? Baka naman pala, this is just, like this is not the root cause of the problem at all, right? It's just a symptom of the problem. Or maybe there's another way to look at the problem, right? An analogy I always use, and I've also used this during our previous workshop, diba? For example, if a community is mad at the government because they don't have a bridge, and you're going to use design thinking, the first thing you're going to do is to talk to the people, right? So, wala kaming bridge, no? Tagal na namin hinihiling yan. Walang build, no? Pero, pag kinausap mo yung mga tao, di ba? What you will probably find out is that the problem is not the bridge. The problem is people want to go to the other side, diba, of the river to do whatever they want to do, and yet they don't have any means to do it. Okay? Now, when you look at the problem from that perspective, it totally erases the problem of the bridge. Now you're open to more possibilities. You can brainstorm and ideate on other possible solutions that you can give to this community. Okay? And when we reframe, we use the how might we question. No? So, siguro marami sa inyo alam nyo na rin to. No? So, basically, how might we questions allow us to turn challenges and problems into opportunities that we identified during the empathy stage. No? So, I'll give you guys an example. No? So, when we build the solution for LGUs, it's called LGU versus COVID. No? So, we conducted empathy work, even initial insights from our clients. The problem and frustration we got from LGUs was that they can't keep up with how fast all these national issuances are coming from the national government. Also, like, government websites are slow. Government websites are slow. You have to go to different sites to just keep up with this issuances. But also, these legal documents are so long, right? If you're a mayor in let's say, a municipality in Lanao, what you want to see are key decision points, key highlights of what this issuance, for example, is all about, so that you can make a decision right away and respond faster, diba, to the current crisis. So because of that insight, that problem, in the persona that we had here, we tweak that, we transform that into a how might we. And I think the how might we question we came up with all those problems was that how might we design a radically simple experience, that easily communicates like national issuances and best practices for LGUs, so that they can respond better and faster to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think we also added there yung element of speed. No? So speed was a big design principle for us kasi nga we identified na mabagal yung internet sa provinces and we want the site to be as fast as possible. Now, because of that tweaking of the how might we question, we came up with the LGU versus COVID site. You can check it out. It's LGU versus COVID.ph. No? So, for example, dito, no, sa stakeholder persona or customer persona, if ang problem ni Jana is she cannot go to the grocery, for example, or she doesn't have a car, no? So how can you tweak that into a how might we question, no? So it can be, how might we connect Jana to local grocery stores for an affordable price so that, like, she won't have to worry about it anymore. No? So it's really about seeing opportunities behind problems. And the how might we statement is very useful because um, it becomes a starting point for ideation. Okay? So when you finish worksheet 1, dapat meron ka ng how might we question. Okay? Is that clear? Right. So now that you have a how might we question, the next thing you need to do, okay, it's 5, is to ideate. Oh, so more or less, di ba, marami ka ng mga naiisip ng mga ideas, but you tried to control them first, no, in the beginning, because you're trying to understand, no? Step 1 is all about understanding, right? Okay, so the big difference between ideation versus brainstorming is unstructured. No? So, di ba marami sa atin before, no, when we go into meetings, I think even Zoom meetings now, Zoom meetings that would take like long hours, like 3 hours of meeting, and you're trying to come up with so many ideas, but you didn't decide on any idea that you're going to push for. No? Sino yung naka-experience na before? Nag-meeting kayo, 3 hours, 4 hours, wala kayong napagdesisyonan, wala kayong na-accomplish, diba? So that's very, very common, no? So that's where ideation techniques come in, no? So fast ideation. The way we usually do this is through the use of sticky notes, right? So through the use of sticky notes for 3 minutes, come up with as many ideas as possible, ideas to solve, syempre, your how might we question. Okay, now I understand, we are in quarantine and some of your teams, are not from you unless you have your spouse as your business partner. That's also okay, no? So what you can do is to use these tools, no? So there are many tools that you can use. So the first one, easiest, is Google Sheet. Okay, so we actually did something similar with Alllearn. So basically, one cell is one idea. So sabay-sabay kayo ng team nyo na nag-come up ng mga ideas there. And my personal favorite, on the other hand, is Miro. So Miro.com, it's an infinite whiteboard. So you can collaborate with your team and have like actual looking sticky notes and have the capability to move them around, no? When you're doing the ideation, no? Make sure that you only do 3 minutes at a time, no? So kailangan talaga may nagta-time, very strict, because why are we doing this, diba? So when we are time pressured and we're cramming, no, just like what I was with my slides before, no? So dito lumalabas yung mga creative juices natin. Right? But again, don't do this with your team unless you identified already your personas and your how might we question. Okay? Mural is another tool that you can explore. So I haven't used this, but my good friend Carlo is using this. Okay? So now, when you've come up with all those ideas, make sure that you go for wild ideas, no bad ideas in the beginning. Na? Because we're using methodology called the divergent and convergent thinking. Meaning you come up with many options in the beginning, and tsaka ka na mag-filter. So, it's actually the use of the left brain and the right brain independently. So, kumbaga, in the beginning, you use first your right brain, which is the creative brain, No matter how crazy that idea is, ilagay nyo lang sa sticky note or sa Google Sheet and all this stuff. And then, after nun, lilipat ka na sa left side, which is the analytical side of your brain. Okay? Tapos, what you can do with your team is do a votation. So what we usually do is 5 votes. Depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes 3 votes. Just put like X, or sa Miro, you can actually put like circles. So have the team votes. And when you're done voting, take your top 5 ideas and put it in the worksheet. So basically, dito na siya ilalagay. So, sa diverge section in the left side. Okay? So, list your top 5 ideas. What you can do before this is also categorize nyo muna yung mga ideas. But oftentimes, I'd rather go for the idea itself than the category. Kasi minsan masyadong malawak yung category. Okay? Okay, the next step. Now, the next step in the worksheet is the converge na. So, ang ginawa ko dito actually is I took the Venn diagrams, and then you can actually gauge your top 5 ideas, kung nasan siya dito sa Venn diagram. Is it desirable by people and also technologically feasible, but not necessarily business viable? So you can put it in the center of people and technology. Or is it desirable by people? Yes, it's awesome, like people would love this. It's also good for business. You would make some money from it. People will be willing to pay for it. But you have no idea how you are going to implement it. Or you don't have the resources to implement it. The technology, not even the technology, even just the skills, at least the knowledge to implement it. So dun lang siya sa gitna ng people and business. Or baka naman sobrang ganda ng technology mo. Yes, sobrang ganda ng technology. Sa tingin mo, business viable, Pero hindi naman siya necessarily yung gusto ng tao, So baka nandun lang siya sa gitna. Of course, what you're aiming for is the one in the middle, right? So whichever idea you have in your top 5 na medyo nag-swak dito sa gitna ng people, technology, and business, if it's multiple, siguro 3 or 2 sa mga ideas nyo nag-fit dito, that's also okay, right? But you have to decide as a team, okay, what possible ideas from the 3 na napili natin, halimbawa, na nandito malapit sa center, yung pwede nating i-test and i-implement. Okay? Are you following, guys? So I will just read the questions for each Venn diagram part. So for people, syempre start there. Does this address the current pain points and needs of my customer persona? Again, take into consideration the current context that we have right now. Take into consideration as well the industries that might thrive, especially on the mental health side, stuff like that, communications and all. Can this help my stakeholders? Because you're social entrepreneurs, of course, social impact is a big part, Does this help my stakeholders? Can this help them bounce back as well? Will this have a positive impact on their lives? Is this good for the people and the planet? For technology / feasibility, so I wanted to go not only on technology but also on your existing assets, your existing resources that you have. So do we have the technology needed to make this idea happen? Do you have the skills and resources to implement this? No? Baka naman kasi you want to venture into something new and wala ka, like zero knowledge ka doon. No? But also, meron din naman akong mga kilalang entrepreneur na venturing into new waters and new industries na wala talaga silang alam. But what they did was they tapped partners who are experts on that field. Okay, so if you don't have those skills, assets, and resources for that particular idea, maybe you can have partners. So that's also okay. Business viability. So again, will people pay for this? Will I be able to make reasonable profit from this idea? And syempre, how can this be sustainable? Huh? Now, when you have that one or two idea, baka gusto nyo na one or two, okay lang din naman, what we're going to do next is to prototype. Okay? Again, design thinking is all about thinking visually. No? So I often say that for me, being a designer and innovator is like reliving your childhood. Kasi di ba when we were young, we don't really care about what other people say. We like drawing. We're very creative. Creativity is very innate in humans. Actually, creativity is what makes us human. You think about it. No? So ugly is okay. So don't worry if you don't know how to draw. That's okay because I'm sure you can. So ugly is okay. So you can use this solution sketches canvas. We actually use this for design sprints. So may 3 panels dito. Let's say for example, you're thinking of a new app. Okay, then you can draw 3 app screens here. Okay. Or let's say you want to not necessarily an app, a Facebook group. So pwede mo rin siyang i-drawing dyan. Yung flow niya, paano yung magiging flow? Or if you're designing a system or a process, pwede rin namang flow chart. Okay, so you can also do flow chart here. It doesn't really matter what kind of prototype you're thinking or of drawing. What matters is you get that pencil and draw something and turn your ideas into something tangible. That's what you want. Kasi if nandyan lang siya sa utak mo, makakalimutan mo siya. So sometimes, di ba, when you're drawing something, it's just like when you're writing, di ba, na new ideas spring up when you're using your hand. So I hope you guys will print out this 3-page business design canvas on how you can discover new opportunities for your business. Now, what happens next? Say, for example, okay, meron ka ng rough sketch. Let's say as simple as a Shopify page. Yun lang yung mga pinaka-naisip ko na basic, halimbawa, that you can do. So, you can transition then into a higher fidelity prototype, which can be in the form of a PowerPoint presentation or a design, like a rough design of a site, right? Or as simple as a poster, So, let me tell you a story. So, a friend of mine, this was way before, pero when he was having problems with their finances, and he's a designer and innovator, what he did was, naisip niya, okay, I was selling before, think mag-Valentine's. So sabi niya, nagbebenta daw siya ng chocolate-covered strawberries when he was in college. So, kailangan niya na extra money. Ngayon, sabi niya, okay, I want to sell to my friends on Facebook, but I don't have the money, right? I don't have the money to buy strawberries and make it first. You know what was his MVP? You know what he did? He took a photo of chocolate-covered strawberries on Google put some text on Canva, like pre-orders and all. And because of that simple poster that he posted on his Facebook, got a lot of like engagement and responses from his friends, he was able to raise roughly around 60,000 pesos. Diba? That's the value of prototyping and thinking visually and transforming your ideas into something tangible. Okay? So what are more validation tips that you can do? So, for example, diba? Hindi niya naman kinailangang bumili agad ng strawberry, no? So, wala siyang pera pambili ng strawberry. So, he validated it first using that simple poster, no? So, what are other validation tips that you can do? What time is it? Still early pa pala. So, 5:11 na. Okay? Anyway, so first one, start with your network. Now, during this time, syempre, di ba, go muna for family and friends might be willing to support you on whatever new track you might create for your business or for your social enterprise. So, I see a lot of posts then online on supporting small businesses. And this is also the time to go hyper-local di ba? No? Ako, ang dami ko rin binili sa mga friends ko naman kung ano-ano recently, no? So number 2, utilize Facebook groups or digital communities, no? I've already touched on this for several times, but if you identified a particular persona, for example, more or less, there's a Facebook group for it. No, I was joking, di ba? The Philippines kasi, they say, is the association capital of the Philippines. No? So we have associations and organizations for everything. Right? We even have a dragon fruit association of the Philippines. Do you believe it? But today, our version of associations would be Facebook groups, right? This is our modern version of associations. And if you want to validate your new product or service idea, go to these Facebook groups and be a member. Just make sure you don't spam, because I also have friends who've been blocked out of certain Facebook groups or digital communities. Number 3, list down your assumptions and decide what type of manual validation to use based on that. So for example, you have an assumption na, okay, people would be willing to pay for this product. So that's your assumption. After mo mag-ideate, meron ka ng solution sketch. So you can use interviews as well to validate that assumption. Or you can also do naman is mag-post ka sa Facebook group. So there are different types of validation. Number 4, also very important, if your idea already has an existing solution, if may katulad na yung idea mo, look for a possible pain point in the existing solution and how you can solve it. I'll give you guys an example. Sige. So, meron akong in-order before na grocery, no? So, online delivery rin siya. And di ako gano'n natuwa sa service kasi sobrang mahal. Like, parang 500 pesos yung binayad ko. Tapos, nung dumating yung order, hindi maayos yung pagkaka-order. And I paid like 300 for shopping fee. May shopping fee na kasama. No? So, for example, if that was my pain point, probably pain point din yun ng other customers nila. So it's okay to replicate someone else's business idea as long as you try to improve on it. No, wala naman tayong copyright dyan no? It's really on the delivery and the experience design, the customer experience of your particular product or service. You get what I mean? Yan. Sige. Siyempre, pinaka-importanteng part would be to hustle, right? Hindi naman ito mangyayari lahat. You can turn your ideas into reality without you hustling. No, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, I said I became more productive ever since the ECQ because I was able to form routines. No, so I wake up at this time, and then I work on this, blah 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 blah. Uh, and I hustle more now than ever before. No, that's when I realized, because now I don't have to jump from one place to another, endure the traffic and all that stuff. Yun nga lang, medyo marami-rami tayong screen time. Yun lang. So screen time and self-care as well. And of course, as social entrepreneurs, always remember your why. Remember why you are doing this. Now, because when you know your why, you know your purpose, you know the people you are trying to help, you're trying to solve their problems for sure, luck will be in your way. Now, always remember your why, because now more than any other time in history, we need social entrepreneurs. We need social entrepreneurs to create new jobs, create new opportunities for local uh, communities. No? So, it's 5:17. No? So, a few notes before I end my presentation. No? I saw this post on Facebook and I shared it, and I think it's very inspiring. No? So this is how the post goes. So a friend who owns a restaurant will file for bankruptcy this week because of economic effects of COVID-19. Found him yesterday writing down his new plans for his comeback. His words inspired me because he said, "Brother, you're only in trouble when you have run out of plans, not money." So I hope my presentation has inspired you guys to go back to the drawing board and think of like new business opportunities that your social enterprise can take advantage of. And always remember that design is never done. Okay, it's always an iterative process, and the more you practice it, in your everyday lives, in your work, you'll get better at it, and it will just be like second nature to you. No, so that's the end of my presentation. So create limitless possibilities because we need you guys right now. Okay, and transform challenges into opportunities. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Joy. Thanks so much for actually sobrang meaty. Sobrang meaty ng presentation. Um, before we end, just have a few minutes. Siguro I'll jump into some questions for you. Some going back to the worksheet, which is really helpful for me personally. Being able to simplify that, being simplify the design process, the design thinking process into three sheets is something that's for me super useful and parang less overwhelming. So thank you for that, for preparing that for this summit. Some questions lang with regards to for this particular side on customer persona and stakeholder persona. There are sometimes how do we sometimes is it possible ba na the customer is also a stakeholder? And if that's the case, like how would you recommend, how do we go about that? Parang defining that persona if customer/stakeholder siya.
Right. Okay, sige. I suppose, if we look at customers as also our stakeholders, that's actually a very good way to look at things. I was just listening to Jaime Ayala, during this PDRF forum, and he considers like all their mall tenants to be their stakeholders, and even the broader community as their stakeholders in general. I suppose, like this delineation lang is to figure out who is going to pay for your particular product or service.
Okay.
You know?
And usually, who's
Yes.
gonna pay is the customer. That's how you would define
Yes.
customer. While
Yeah.
stakeholder is, how would you define stakeholder?
For the stakeholder, for example, if your social enterprise has a community that you're serving, 'di ba? And for example, nawala yung trabaho nila, nawala yung jobs, that you're providing for them before because of the crisis, then, you might also want to empathize with them. And maybe, added to this, figure out what are their current skills ba? What are the other things that they can do pa? Besides sa kung ano na yung skills na ginagawa nila for your social enterprise before. Because that can also be a jump starting point for your ideation. Sorry, go ahead, Patch.
Yeah. So for stakeholders, like kunwari, for example, a social enterprise working with shoemakers or weavers, you can consider them as stakeholders.
Yes.
So when you create personas for them, nasa parang stakeholder yung pagtingin sa kanila. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. We have another question here on curious question on the difference between lean startup and design thinking. Siguro in the startup world, di ba, medyo na it gets thrown around and it gets integrated or minsan separated. So how are they different from each other if ever there are differences? How would you differentiate them?
Sige. So actually, there's this like chart, like of the journey, kumbaga, the innovation journey, no? So if you look at it, I don't have the photo, but you can look at it, no? So design thinking comes first, no? For me personally, it should come first, and then lean comes next. When you already have an idea that you want to test. That's why lean methodology is build, measure, learn. Diba? It's build, measure, learn. But when you use design thinking muna, you go back to people and understand first without any solution. Lean is meron ka ng solution na naisip. No? And probably may MVP ka na. The next one is actually agile. No? So design thinking, lean, and agile. So dito sa agile, na-validate mo na yung MVP mo from lean. When na-validate mo na siya, you will do a sprint to actually create the higher fidelity version of your MVP. So ganun siya. Pag ganun siya. Nasa-search na siya. Yeah.
Okay. So starting point talaga si design thinking, if we were to put it that way. Okay. This one, so people are talking about innovation, or we've talked about innovation. And as mentioned earlier, so how can you innovate in a new ocean of non-customers rather than the same market? I feel like if I were a business, of course, I have already identified the market. But now, because of COVID, things change. So parang how, in the spirit of innovation or in the context of innovation, what would your advice be for someone who needs to innovate in an ocean of quite of like non-customers kasi they're not familiar, parang kumbaga it's a new customer market
Right.
The way they're forced to look for new customers which were non-customers before. So parang what would your advice be in terms of how they can innovate on providing new products and services for them?
Right. I guess it still boils down to empathy, right? And I personally believe that empathy should be a basic skill. Even if you're not creating something new, diba? It's a skill of the future and it should be like common skills, but it's not. Yeah. Business is about relationships, right? And to be an entrepreneur is to be good at building relationships. And it's about embracing that ambiguity. This might be a new customer base, but one thing you can do is to maybe find, like a friend or a colleague who's already serving this type of customer.
Okay.
Although meron tayong tinatawag the non-threatened competitor, no? Meaning pareho kayo ng sinaserve na customer pero hindi kayo direct na competitor kasi magkaiba naman halimbawa yung service mo. Yeah. Okay. So that's
a nice starting point. Yeah. We have one here. So I know that we are talking about social enterprises and using But the person asking, Ivy, wants to use design thinking and build on ideas, but not for social enterprise uses or for getting profit. So it's not for profit. So in the Venn diagram that you showed, which is very useful, what can we exchange the business circle with? Since you've mentioned that you can also use design thinking for personal reasons.
Well, this
Uh-huh.
tool, okay, so kung personal use. So let's say muna social impact project, no? So kung social impact project 'yan, whether you like it or not, there will still be a business component to it. No,
Mhm.
not necessarily as you make
Profit.
profit,
Yeah.
but like making sure that there's cash, like
It's
making sure
sustainable.
it's sustainable, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So you can maybe replace this with sustainability.
Ability. Yeah.
Yeah. So you
How
can
about if let's say I use it for personal plans lang, like my life plans, pwede rin bang applicable? Can we also apply those circles to personal
well,
plans and goals in life?
kung personal, there's actually a book called Designing Your Life, which has
Okay.
more tailored tools for personal planning. So I
Okay.
guess that would be more
So
appropriate. Yeah.
okay, so the book is Design Your Life. All right. Sige.
Designing Your Life. It's
Designing Your
by
Life.
Kim Burney. No?
Okay.
Maganda rin yung mga tools na ginawa niya dun. Yeah.
Okay. We have one more question because usually you mentioned something about hustling towards the end of your presentation as something that is, we have to hustle and work hard. What are your thoughts on hustling versus working smart?
Hmm. Well, hustling and working smart. Actually, I'm a big fan din naman of working smart, no? So especially now that we have technology. That's the whole point of technology to make your life easier, right? With automation and all. Recently lang namin na-discover din yung mga tools like Zapier and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But for me, hustling is something that entrepreneurs should really do. Unless you're so sure na parang opportunities are coming in. Hustling for me is not necessarily like working too hard,
Mhm.
but hustling for me is like waking up every day and
Mhm.
and pushing forward and knowing your why, even if
Yeah.
you're not entirely sure if this will succeed or not.
I guess it's more of a it's more of a mindset. Like
Yes.
it's more of a drive or a driving motivation to get you to work. And I think
Yes.
then if I were to chime in my thoughts on working smart also, um, I feel like in my own experience, the working smart comes because you've hustled enough to
Yeah.
find a way to do things more smartly. Parang
Yeah.
you kind of like did experimented a couple of many times, trying to make your work smarter, and then eventually you hustled into doing in finding a solution to make things work better.
Yes. Agree. Yeah.
Okay, and with that, we shall end our session. Joy, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, taking the time of and creating these three slides. It will be useful for us, and I'm sure it will be useful for anyone who will have a copy of this three-slide design thinking canvas of yours. Again, thank you for joining us, Joy, and also to everybody who joined us today for day one. Thank you for spending the whole day with us at Sparkability Virtual Summit. This is just day one. Tomorrow we have another day, 3 sessions also. We are looking forward to having you with us again tomorrow. And of course, the learning never stops. And so I'll see you guys tomorrow. That ends day one, and thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, TGIF.